The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to the Benchmark Estimating Software webinar. The agenda for today, firstly we'll do a brief introduction of myself, and then we'll have a brief look at benchmark estimating software. We've got a fairly diverse audience today. Some people have seen benchmark before, some people haven't, so we'll just do a very brief introduction to the software, and then we will look at the top 10 features in our new version 7.6. So yeah, firstly, welcome. Thank you for coming along today. I assume you can all hear me okay. If anyone hasn't used GoToWebinar before, you should, in your little GoToWebinar panel on the right, have the option to ask some questions. So during the course of the webinar, which should take about 1 hour, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and I will endeavour to answer as many as I can during the webinar. If I don't answer your question, I will answer them after the webinar by email. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, and my name is Nigel Watts. I'm the Marketing and Product Manager for Benchmark Estimating Software. And yeah, I'll be with you for the next hour to show you mainly the top features in version 7.6. Before we do that though, I'll just give you for those of you who haven't seen it, a 5-minute introduction to the software itself, and in particular I wanted to show you just what an estimate looks like in Benchmark. So the way the webinar works is that we'll just be switching between PowerPoint and the software itself. So you will get to see the software a lot today, but I will be using PowerPoint just to give the presentation some structure. So if we just move across to Benchmark Estimating Software. Okay, this is the main screen. It's called My Benchmark. So this is a customizable screen for each user. And very briefly, this is where you start an estimate. You can also see the recent projects or estimates you've been working on. And over on the far right, you've got a list of favourite features, or gives you these, or libraries. So Benchmark is a library-based system, and this is where you can get access to your libraries. Bottom left, there's a snapshot of your marketing data, so won, lost, pending, and things like that. And the bottom right of the screen gives you access to all the help and support features that we provide. But what I want to do now, just for the next 5 minutes, and before we look at the 7.6 marquee features, is just to show you what an estimate looks like in Benchmark, for those of you who haven't seen it. And just by showing you this and the structure of an estimate, it'll just make the rest of the presentation easier for those of you who are new to the software. So I'll double click on this first project for 7.6 webinar. And you'll see here, this is called the project details screen. So this is the main screen, or the summary screen for a job or for an estimate. You'll see there's information like the quote number, the title, closing date, the client, information about the job like the location and suburb, and then at the bottom right, all your summary costs for the project. So your direct costs, your indirects or your overheads, your profit, any provisional sums, and the overall submission price. So that's the main screen for a project. Now an estimate in Benchmark is made up of a few levels, and the first level is called the section level. So you just right click and select section to go to the section level. And at this level you'll see a list of main headings that break down the job into the main sections of work. There's people in the audience today are from many different industries. The information I'm showing you today is a bit focused around a civil construction sort of project, but the sections of work you have here can be whatever you want them to be. If you're building a house, it might be footings, walls, roof, furniture, things like that. If you're doing an electrical project, it could be things like design, installation, commissioning, travel, project management, whatever you want them to be. You set up these sections to suit your job. This is like a summary screen of your costs, and if you were to wanted to drill down into any particular section, let's say earthworks, we simply double click on the earthworks section to take you to the item level. And this lists all the items of work in that section. You can see there's codes, description, quantities, units and costs. Now, a benchmark is a resource-based or first principles estimating tool. So each of these items of work has resources behind it. And resources are labour, materials, plant and subcontract. So if you double click on any item, which I'll do now, you'll then see there's a list of resources that go into that particular item. So in this case, we're stripping topsoil. We've got an excavator, a leading hand, labourer, plant operator and a truck. So you've got quantities and rates, give you a cost, and all of these costs roll up to the total item cost. Okay, so if you go back up to the item level, you'll see you've got a cost of 3,900 and quantity of 1,350 square metres, and benchmark calculates your square metre rate for you automatically. Okay, so that's a brief overview of how a job's structured and the different levels of an estimate. There are more levels available, but that's a basic structure for you. Okay, so that's a very brief introduction to the structure of an estimate for those of you who haven't seen benchmark before. Like I said, we've got a fairly diverse audience, and I just wanted to show that to you first. So we'll now go back to the webinar, and I should say, if any of you want to see more of benchmark and a more detailed introduction, then please contact me after this and we can organise a one-on-one presentation to you. So just back to the PowerPoint. Okay, that's our brief introduction. The next, these are the top features of 7.6. So we've just released version 7.6 of benchmark, which is what this webinar today is mainly about. So I'm just going to take you through those now. So we've got read-only, a great new feature called Inactive Items, resource custom fields. We've added more copy and paste features. We've got a marketing dashboard, new calculation functions, an advanced quote numbering feature, many usability improvements. You can also mark clients and subcontractors and suppliers as inactive. So benchmark has libraries for clients and libraries for your subbies and suppliers. And you can now mark the ones you don't use anymore as inactive. And a great new feature on the auditing side is system and project audit. So they're the 10 that we're going to look at now. I think 7.6 has over 70 or has 75 new features and improvements. So these are just 10 of the main ones. Okay, so read only. Now for read only, I'm just going to explain this to you. It's sort of more a concept rather than there's no need to look at the software. And just to explain a bit about the licensing method of benchmark. So there's two licensing methods, but the main one is called a concurrent license. So say if you purchase 2 concurrent licenses, 2 people, you can install benchmark on more than 2 computers, but 2 people can use the software at the one time. Now with read-only, what this enables you to do is that in that example, if your 2 licenses are already being used, then a third person and a fourth person and a fifth person could all log into the software but do so in read-only mode. Okay, so it means it's a great value add, and it means more people can get in and get access to the data in Benchmark than ever before, and for no additional cost. Furthermore, as per the image, you can also nominate certain users to always log in read-only mode. So for those of you who don't know, Benchmark is a database system, so you can set up users with login and password control, so it's very secure, unlike like spreadsheets where anyone can access them. This gives you login and password control and permissions and all sorts of things. This screenshot you can see here is the estimator library where you set up all your users, and you'll see there encircled in red, default to read-only. So if you might have a core estimating team who have full access, but then you might have some administrative staff or even managers that you don't want to give them access to change anything, but you want them to be able to log in read-only. So you can just default that user to read-only, and then when they log in, they always log in read-only mode. So it's a great way to control things in your company and control access to data, and those read-only people don't chew up any of your licenses, which is another great thing. So a bit of an overview of read-only. When a user is logged in read-only mode, they can still do things. So they can navigate throughout the software, they can authorize a project, they can complete a project, and they can also run project reports, quotes, and exports. So like a project manager, for example, or a manager, you mightn't want them, they may not have any need to change data, but you want them to run reports. So they can do that without the need to purchase a license for them. So it's a great, huge value add and adds to the return on your investment. And helps collaboration too. So it means more people, as I said, can get access to the data out of Benchmark, which is one of the great benefits of the system, especially when you win a job and need to hand over all that data to project teams. They can benefit from read-only. Okay, so that's read-only. The next feature I want to talk about is called Inactive Items and Resources. So what this does is that it allows you to exclude items from a bid or resources. So when you exclude or mark an item as inactive, the costs for that item do not contribute to your estimate, and they are not shown on reports or exports. Many uses, quite a few of our, this feature, as for most of our features that we add, completely driven by our customers. And the main use of this is that a lot of our customers wanted to model different construction methods for particular items in a bid. So you might have various items in your bid which are the really important ones that impact heavily on the cost, and you might want to model different ways of bidding that item and constructing it. So this is what Inactive Items is really designed for. However, a lot of our customers are finding many other uses as well. So I'll just jump into Benchmark now and we'll show you how this works. As you'll see, it's very easy to use. Okay, so we're back at the project details level. Let me just check if there's any questions. Not yet. Okay, so we'll now drill down into the estimate. So again, we right-click and select section, and we'll go into the, let's see what we earthworks section. And I've already got a, oops, user error there. I'll just make that. Okay. So you'll see here the first C2, these three highlighted here. This is the exact same item. Okay. So you've priced it up three different ways. So you'll see there that each got a different rate and a cost. Now let's say you wanted to go with the You may not necessarily want to go with the cheapest one for some reason. Let's say you wanted to go with this middle one using scrapers. So you can highlight the first one and the third one, right click and select Make Items Inactive. And you'll see there that those two items are grayed out. You'll see the cost is zeroed out, and when you do that, another column appears for inactive cost. So it's very clear for an estimator, what's inactive and what's not. Okay. The great power of inactive, though, is that all your workings behind that, so each of those has labour, materials and equipment, all of those workings are retained. So in management review, if your manager comes along and says, no, we want to use the cheapest one, so you can mark the cheapest one as active. So we'll say make that third one active, and then we'll make that second one inactive. Okay, so you can quickly make decisions on what you want to include, but you've always got those workings available at any time should you, as an estimator or management, change their mind. Okay, so that's active and inactive items. You can also, whenever we do a modification in Benchmark or a new feature, we always try and make it very flexible, because estimators are very particular and like to work in their own way. So you can also do that at the resource level. So if we just go into this last item, cut to fill, you'll see here that you've got two excavators, one plan only and one with operator. You'll see the one with operator is grayed out. So I've made that inactive already. So at the resource level, you can turn resources on and off as well. So you've got flexibility to work whichever way is best for you. Okay, so that's inactive items. So, whilst we don't look at it today, once you've finished an estimate, you can get over 80 reports for an estimate. So on all your direct costs, you can get all your labour and materials and equipment. So all of your inactive resources are excluded from those reports because they're not part of the job. However, there is still a report. You can run one report which shows you all the inactive things if you wanted to review them. Okay, so that's inactive items and resources. And back to our webinar. Back to the PowerPoint. Next feature is resource custom fields. So this allows you to create your own fields for resources. I guess custom fields is a concept that probably many of you may be familiar with in other database applications. So this allows you to create your own fields. Gives you a lot of control. You can nominate the name of the field, the type of the field, data validation rules, and even business rules. So you get a lot of control here. The reason we added these is a lot of our customers wanted to be able to do custom reporting and integration. So they had, we give you certain fields you can fill in, but customers always want more. So we came up with the custom field feature. So you can use it in custom reporting and integration, but you can also use custom fields in quantity calculations, and that's, I believe, one of the more powerful uses of them. So we'll just go back to Benchmark and I'll show you custom fields and one application of them. There can be many applications of custom fields. Okay, so back into our sample project. Go back to the section level, and this time we're going to go into the structures section. Okay, so we've got an item here, and I just made up, supply and erect some steel structure, and we'll double click on that to go to the resource level. And you'll see here we've got a list of materials: steel posts, bracing, timber posts, paint, labour to erect the structure, and labour to paint it. So for any resource, up the top section of the screen you've got a heap of fields, and you'll see if you're using custom fields, you then see this custom field tab. So I'm just going to click on that to show you that tab. So you'll see here I've set up a few custom fields, one for weight, surface area, and density. So there's some of the classic cases that our customers want to or use custom fields for. Now, particular weight, like if you're doing something with steel or concrete or whatever, you might, in this case, you might purchase the steel per metre or per length, but you want to be able to nominate a weight for that piece of steel so you can work out the total weight of everything on the job. And you can then use that in freight calculations or whatever. Surface area is another good one. You can nominate a surface area for a particular thing, and then you can work out like painting costs or galvanizing costs or whatever. And density is another good one that a lot of companies use as well. But in this case, we've got surface area of 0.36 square metres. So these custom fields, I should say, can all be set up in your resource library. So Benchmark has a library for your resources. Won't go in there, but you see under the libraries menu, there's a heap of libraries that you can store standard data in, and one is your resource library. So all these custom field values can be set up in a library. So the estimator doesn't need to make them up per project. You set them up in a library, but you have the flexibility to adjust them per project if required. So that's surface area 0.36 square metres. Now, I'll show you one thing on here. The great thing about custom fields is that these values in here can be used in calculations. So you'll see here you've got paint, so we've got posts, U-beams, bracing, treated timber posts, and we've got paint. So there's a calculation over here, and I won't go into too much detail, but what it does, it works out the total quantity of paint based on the surface area of all the components above it. You can use this for paint, just one example. You can use it for freight based on the weight. You can use it for galvanizing based on the square meters. You've got a lot of flexibility. So it's a way of solving, fairly some real life estimating challenges for particular industries. But you'll see here this one. If I change the surface area of this post, say, if it wasn't 0.36, if it was 0.5 square metres, you'll see that the quantity of paint will automatically be recalculated. So I'll press enter. So it was 18.21 litres. You'll see it's now 20.46, just by adjusting that surface area parameter for that particular post. So that's a brief introduction to custom fields. As I said, they have many applications. We've just done a lot of integration work with a major telecommunications contractor, for example. They've got custom fields set up not for numerical things like weight and surface area, but for just codes and supplier data, and we've done integration with their ordering system, and it's all extracting data from the custom field in an estimate. So they have many uses. Okay, so back to our PowerPoint. And if someone out there is interested in custom fields for more, I'd be more than happy to spend I could spend an hour just on them, just showing you those. And I've just already got a question here. Or unlimited custom fields, and the answer is unlimited. There is a limit to resource at the moment to 15. So there are, so the question is about the limit on custom fields. So there is a limit at the moment for 15 resource custom fields. That's something that we can increase in time, but at the moment it's 15. We have custom fields in other areas, so for items, for projects, and for clients, you can set up custom fields as well. The next feature is copy-paste. So there's lots of copy-paste functions in Benchmark, but we've added a few more great features in 7.6. So you can copy-paste resources between items in your library and between projects. But in particular, the new features we've added, paste special and paste with zero quantity. So best way to show this to you is within the software. And it's going to go back to our section level. And this time we'll go into water and sewer. Okay. So you'll see here this second item doesn't have a cost at the moment. Okay. What we're going to do is just copy and paste some resources from this first item and drop them into the second one. So this is fairly straightforward. Right-click copy or Control-C, which is the standard Windows shortcut. So copy. We'll go straight to our next item. It's a bit of a shortcut. So right-click next item. That goes directly to the next item in the bid. Oh, so let me delete those. Didn't realise they were there. Okay, and here you can then paste. But the two new things, we've got a paste special and paste with zero quantity. So paste special brings up a heap of options. Like for anyone who's used Excel, you may or may not have used the paste special feature. So paste is the default. Paste special gives you a whole heap of options. So things about cost code, cartage, linking and unlinking. There's, when you get into Benchmark and realise the power of it, there's lots of different things you can turn on and off. And then paste with zero quantities is another option. But we'll just select all those defaults, click OK, and there you've copied and pasted those resources from one item into another. Say for argument's sake you didn't want these two resources in this item, you can delete them and your bid's automatically updated. So that's a very quick and easy way of using resources, copying and pasting between items in a bid. Okay, just back to our presentation. Halfway through, so we've got half an hour left. The marketing dashboard. Okay, so best way again, I'll go back to the software. Okay, before we look at the marketing dashboard, and just as an introduction, every quote you do in Benchmark, you can record if you won or lost the job. So in this analysis tab here, there's a whole heap of fields. Down the bottom, you've got some marketing data, so you'll see this job is pending, so you can record if you won or lost the quote. If you lost it, you can put in like a winner, so your competitors, a reason for loss, and all these drop-down fields you can customize, winning price, information like that. Let's say we've won the job. Okay, that's the great thing about a database. A lot of people using spreadsheets. If you're using spreadsheets for your estimating, you've got spreadsheets all over the place. You've got a separate spreadsheet for like a tender log or tender reporting. With the database, it's all driven out of Benchmark. Okay, so you just have to tick won or lost. So then back at this first screen you come into, whilst you have a snapshot of your won-loss data to the left, there's also a dashboard which allows you to see there's your key business KPIs or marketing data. Okay. Now with this dashboard, it's completely user definable. So if you go into the dashboard settings screen, you can see here that you can change the layout. You can have up to 6 graphs. We might just want 1 graph or 5 graphs. It's up to you. Then you've got a list of available graphs. So you can, let's go, put this one down the bottom. So you can customize the layout and the graphs that you see on this screen to suit yourself. Okay. Then for every single graph, if you click on here, there's a little settings icon. So for every single graph, you can also customize the date range, which date it's using. There's a few dates, a from and to date, and also whether you're viewing actually submission values, dollars, or number of projects. So you've got a lot of customization in here. The other great thing about this is that for any of these graphs, you can double click on any of these and it will drill down and show you all the projects that make up that little component of the pie chart or the bar chart. So one loss pending. The blue section is pending, so if you wanted to see all your pending projects, you just double click on that blue section and it will take you to the browser screen and show you all the quotes that you have pending. Okay, and there's a lot there. So yeah, you've got full drill down capacity from here to analyze it further. Benchmark does have an awful lot more marketing reports than what I'm showing you here, but this is just a dashboard for like your favorite or main reports, okay, or main graphs, I should say. Okay, so that's the marketing dashboard. So number 5, so up to number 6, so new calculator functions. So in addition to new calculator functions, we've actually redesigned the calculator somewhat, but there's also new functions for round up, round down, custom fields, and a few other more advanced ones at the bottom there. So we'll just have a look at the calculator first for any of you who haven't seen the calculator, because it's one of the most the marquee features in Benchmark and one that a lot of estimators use every day. So we'll go back into our project, drill down to the section level, right-click section, and for this one, let's go into the establishment section. Okay, we've got a few items there. So we've got caravan toilets, travel to site, and let's have a look at the travel to site item. Something I made up this morning. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just look at this item here, that plan operator. Okay. Now, you see there's quantities here, 28 hours for the leading hand, 56 for the operator, 112 for the labourer. Those quantities, you can either type them in or you can use Benchmark's powerful calculator to calculate a quantity. So to calculate a quantity or to see the calculation up the top here, next to the quantity field, there's a calculator icon. You can see it's got a little tick. That means, and it's sort of green, that means there's a calculation there. So let's click on that and it'll bring up the calculator window. So this is a great tool, awesome for calculating quantities and materials. Like you can, I know we're looking at plan operator here, but imagine if you were trying to work out the tonnage of sand or something. You can put in a quantity like length times width times depth times a wastage times density. You can put all that in here, and it's really, really easy to use. But in this case, and you can even do, for those advanced people out there that do like if statements in Excel, you can do if statements in here. It's a very powerful little tool. But what I wanted to show you here is, and this, for some of you out there, if you're still doing it old school pen and paper, you might dig out a calculator, type in some numbers, type in the answer to a spreadsheet, but you lose that calculation. So with this, it's all embedded in your estimate. You can always see where you got a quantity from, and these calculations can also be printed out for your project managers as well. So it gives you a lot of traceability and accountability as well. But yeah, back to the just coming back to version 7.6 and the new features. So what we've got here, sorry, and I'll just get out of that one for a moment. And just before we look at the new features, let me just explain quickly what this calculation is doing. For plan operator, you can see over on the right here, calculation. So it's got the syntax trav times numtr times cs. So what that's doing is it's actually calling on these variables. So this is variables are quite a powerful feature in Benchmark. So you can declare some variables: travel time, 4 hours, number of trips, 7. So the plan operator is just the travel time times number of trips times your crew size. So it's 4 times 7, 28, times your crew size. You've got 2 plan operators, gives you 56 hours. So it's a pretty simple calculation. So that just explains a bit about variables and how that quantity is derived. But one of the new features in 7.6 is I'm using down here for the travel allowance. So it's working out an allowance. What it's doing is it's summing these 3 quantities. So you see 196 hours, but the calculation over here is this little syntax ISUM_RQ. So it's summing all the quantities above it. So it's just 28 plus 56 plus 112, gives you 196. That's pretty reasonably straightforward. But the great power, if you use a few of these features together, is just say on this particular job, there was 4 trips to site, back and forth. So you just 4, it will go through and adjust the hours of your labour, plan operator and labourer, and your travel allowance will be automatically updated as well. So it's quite a powerful little tool. So I'll press enter now, and you see those quantities will automatically adjust for you. So that's using the new ISUM_RQ feature within version 7.6. Okay. Just go back now. Hopefully I've explained that well enough. It's, if you're new to Benchmark, that might be a bit much, but for those of you who've seen it before, that might be pretty straightforward. So then one of the other, I'll just go into the structures item. This is the one we looked at before, and just show you another example. This is a bit more, we have looked at this before, but this is, let's look at this one. This is using some of the new functionality within 7.6 as well. So you've got the ISUM_RQ, but this is effectively also incorporating the resource custom field. So this little sum, this little syntax here, it works out, this is the labour hours required to paint this structure. So it automatically works out the labour hours based on the total materials, surface area of all the materials, and your production rate. So it's quite a powerful little use of the new functionality. So it's working out. This is working out the total surface area to be painted automatically based on the materials. That surface area is being multiplied by 3 coats. You're doing 3 coats of paint, and then you're dividing it by a production rate of so many square metres per hour. So it's a really neat method of automating some more complicated calculations that many of our customers come across in their estimating. Again, it's going into a bit of detail, so if you haven't seen Benchmark before, or it's a bit more of an advanced feature. So yeah, there's some of the new features within the calculator. Advanced quote numbering is next. Now, I'll just go back into the software. Okay, so advanced quote numbering, basically when you do a starter job in Benchmark, so let's do that. Let's start a new quote. So we'll go add new project. This is how you start a new job. We'll go test. Okay, so when you start a new estimate, you'll see that a quote number is automatically allocated for you. So that's standard functionality. So you don't need to worry about a separate system to manage your numbering. Benchmark does it for you. What many of our customers have wanted is, and you can put a prefix on your quote number and things like that, but many of our customers have wanted a more advanced quote numbering system. Like you might want, if you operate in different regions or states, you might want incremental quote numbers per state or incremental quote numbers per region. That's for a bigger company. But even smaller companies, like we've got, we have multinational organisations, federal, state, local government, and all the way down to small landscapers, for example, using our package. Just even small companies wanted a more advanced quote numbering method, like they might have a design section, a construction section, and a maintenance section, for example, and they wanted quote numbers for each of those sections. So we've introduced an advanced quote numbering system, so I'll just show you that. And the best way to show you is in the setup of it. So this is, I won't go into detail on this screen, this is the administration screen, which allows you to customize features and options in Benchmark. And it's here, advanced quote numbering. So I'll just show you how it's set up, and hopefully this should explain it. So firstly, you can select a prefix field. So this is like a prefix. So in this case, we're using region as our prefix. So we want regional quote numbers. Region, you can use a year. And then you see here, this table sort of explains that you've got 4 regions that you quote in, and that's user definable. You've got a prefix for each region, and then the last quote number. So you'll see Queensland Metro, we've done 20 quotes, New South Wales North, 13, etc., etc. So every time a user adds a quote, based on the region they select, it then allocates the next quote number in the system for that region. So it's just a great way for any company, large or small, to customize their quote number format to help, that helps you align Benchmark to your existing quote numbering practices, and just makes it easier within an organisation to find quotes as well. So that's the quote numbering, advanced quote numbering system, which is proving very popular. Back to number 8. So we've only got 15 minutes to go. Usability improvements, we're always adding these into new features, but there's a few there, and I'll just show you 2 of them, the second one and the fourth one. So let's go back to Benchmark. So the first usability improvement, and if we just go back to the section level and earthworks. So before I show you this usability improvement, just explain very quickly, there's many ways you can build up an estimate in Benchmark. Obviously today I've been showing you an estimate that's already built up. But one way of building up an estimate is just by adding items from your library or from another project. So we'll go add item from library. So you'll see here, without going through the process, that this is where you can pick items from your library. Okay, you can bring them into a job. But in many cases, you might want to see, okay, what's actually behind this item. So you'll see there's this little, the new feature we've added here is this little icon. So you can see click to expand items. So if I click on that icon, it'll actually show you what's the resource breakup behind that item before you bring it into your job. So that's quite a handy little feature, and if you're thinking of bringing 2 things in, you can actually look at 2 of those items up on screen before you bring them into the job. So it's quite a handy little feature that a lot of our clients wanted to use. So that's one improvement. Another improvement is in the progress claims feature, and for those of you who are interested, Benchmark is 95% of what we do is all about estimating and quoting, but we do have a progress claims feature which is handy for a lot of our customers. So I'll just go into that. I'll just add a claim. Won't go into the detail, but you'll see here the usability enhancement we've made is that it just makes entering your progress claim data much quicker and easier. So it's just like, I'm just tabbing through. Okay, so you'll see I'm just tabbing through and typing in numbers. It's very quick and easy to enter data in your progress claims. Okay, so that's just a lot faster than it was in the previous version. Might seem simple, but it's one of the big improvements we've made. Just to quickly show you claims a bit more, let's say that was your first claim you issued 1 month ago. Let's add in claim number 2, and you'll really see the power of this feature. You'll see here when I've added claim number 2, it brings forward all your previous quantities. So all you need to do is quickly tab through and type in what you've done in that last month. So it's a very quick way of doing your claims. Getting off topic here a bit on version 7.6, but it is a real value-added feature, and especially with a lot of these days, with a lot of companies finding it hard to get estimators. A lot of project managers are doing estimating, so this is a great tool to have embedded within your estimating application should you need it. And from there, I won't go into it now, but you can generate a lot of reports to give to your customers about your claim. Okay, nearly there. Next one is inactive clients and subcontractors and suppliers. So Benchmark is a library-based system, and as I mentioned at the start, we have libraries for clients and libraries for subcontractor suppliers. This improvement we've done in 7.6 is that you can now go in and mark particular clients or subbies as inactive. So I don't know if I really need to demonstrate it. It's just a checkbox that says this client is now inactive. And what it means then is that they're still in your database because they're probably still linked to old jobs, but it just excludes them from being selected moving forward. So it just gives you much better control over your clients and subcontractors, suppliers. So that you don't inadvertently select them, or if you're in a company with many people using Benchmark, if a supplier is no longer, they've gone under or something, you just mark them as inactive, and it just minimises the risk that someone will select them moving forward. So it's just all about giving you more control. And the last thing we'll talk about, you should get out of here 5 minutes early, which is always good, is the audit feature. So Benchmark, this is the other great thing about using a database-driven estimating tool, is that you can get auditing information, which you just can't get in spreadsheets. So there's 2 facets to our auditing feature. First and foremost is project audit. So this tracks changes to your estimates. So it increases your accountability and traceability of your estimating process. So, and I'll show you this shortly. So when people are doing an estimate and changing things, automatically tracking that for you and logging it. The second aspect of audit is about system security. So what this is all about, and this is more for bigger companies, is that Benchmark can, if you want it, automatically track all your logins to the system, successful or unsuccessful. It can track changes to all your admin settings like default profit and customizations. It tracks who changes what when, and also your user accounts. So it'll track when user accounts are added, edited, deleted. It's all automatically logged. So that's more for your your corporate governance or your system governance and to satisfy your auditors. So we just jump across to Benchmark. It's not that exciting to show you, but it's a very powerful feature. So if we just look in this audit tab, you'll see here that you can see there's a big log there of everything that's been changed, who changed it, what was changed, and that can all be reported on. So that's just automatically logged for you if you want to use it, and it can't be edited or deleted. That's tracking an individual estimate. As far as the system audit goes, it's really simple. It's a bit boring to show you, but it's in the admin screen, so an administrator can just turn it on. So you can enable audit tracking of login attempts, estimated library changes, or admin changes. So it's just, if you want to use it, you just turn it on and then forget it, and Benchmark takes care of it all for you. And then when an auditor, if an auditor wants to see it, you can just extract that data to Excel or to a database and give it to an auditor if they want to see it. So you can do it for the last 3 months, 8 years. You've got a lot of control there over extracting that audit data. Okay, so that's the audit feature. Check another question. Question covers a standard library. Sorry, just having a bit of user error. There we go. Oops. Questions. Standard field. That covers a standard field, populated library. I might have to answer that one offline. Just for instance, I'll get back to you offline about that one, just so I can understand your question some more. Okay, so that's the demonstration. It's now nearly 12 o'clock, so it's just about taken up the whole hour. Thank you very much for those of you, for everyone who attended. Thank you for those of you who asked questions. I'll get back to anyone whose questions I haven't asked after the webinar. There is more information on our webpage, on our website about version 7.6. There's a data sheet on there as well. We do also, to clients, we also provide detailed release notes. As I said, there's 75 new features and improvements in 7.6, so that, and all of our clients, if you purchase the package, you get those. My contact details, if you have any questions, want a one-on-one demonstration of Benchmark, I can organise that for you. If you have any feedback on what you've seen today, I'd really appreciate it. So my phone, that's my direct line, the first phone, my mobile or email. I'd love to hear your feedback, or if you want to take it further and organise a presentation, please contact me. So thank you once again. Hope you found it valuable, and hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.